Good morning, student. Today I have decided to discuss a very good topic, unique topic that importance and development of poultry farming in India. In this chapter, we try to discuss the entire poultry development since after the independence and what kind of the development being carried out in terms of the broiler production, in terms of the egg production, because still we have a huge scope in poultry farming in our country, because we are although we have almost 50% population of vegetarian in the country, but even that the importance of egg we cannot deny it, because egg is used not only for as a food grain, important protein source, but also as a so many in so many cosmetic and other products. It's utilized. Its vitaline is also utilized, and so it actually is also utilized. So for looking to all these things, the poultry farming, the growth and development, and the scenario we will discuss in coming topics. And right now, you just hold on. I'm just discussing the. I'm just discussing the. I'm sharing the sheet with you.
So, good morning, student. Today we have a plan to discuss about the poultry production management, and under this course, we have a plan to discuss about the role of poultry in India. So, objective is very clear that we will discuss the role and the importance of poultry farming in India, and we will know that what is the status of poultry farming in India right now, and what can be done for the further growth and development of the poultry production in India, and how much the poultry farming is contributed in our country. So, poultry farming in India, in spite of several constraints, has progressed considerably during the last decade. In last decade, actually, this development of poultry farming is carried out in our country. Before that, because we have a huge number of vegetarian population in our country, so that's why the egg lover are comparatively less in our country. But because of the growing population of non-veg people in our country, the in last decade we have registered a considerable growth in the poultry farming. The present study has been undertaken to examine various aspects related to the growth and development of poultry production in the country. Poultry production in India was confined to backyard till recently, because generally the people those who are loving eggs, consuming eggs, they are keeping the poultry as a backyard. It means 20, 30 birds, 50 birds they are keeping with in their backyard, and they are using their egg and chicken also. So this kind of that business we are having over here, and the government is also running so many type of that the poultry state farming business, where they are providing this backyard and they are promoting this backyard poultry, because uh, and, in general the commercial poultry farming we required the different that dimensions which we required for housing, we required proper housing, ventilation, everything we required. Land also we required, the connectivity and the marketing, that the system also, the infrastructure we require. But in backyard poultry, because generally the produce and the production is being consumed by the family itself, so it enhances the nutritive value of the farming. And these birds, they generally being they're fed only once or twice in a day, and they generally they consume all the insect pests, those they are there in the environment, and they are enjoying their life in the backyard system. But this is from commercial point of view, this is not acceptable. So poultry production in India was confined to backyard till recently. Local breeds of birds were reared for the supply of eggs and meat, because these breeds they are having less than 100 eggs in a year. Generally, we have in our country the birds like that, and their meat is also not that much of that fleshy. So that in that situation nowadays, the commercial poultry is in picture, and people the huge investment is in this particular business, and this new startups are also in progress. The increasing demand of poultry products necessities augmenting the supply by important improved breeds of poultry. In 1961, the poultry proportion of hybrid population in the total population of poultry was about 2%. Within a couple of decades, these birds have dominated the market, sidelining the indigenous breeds. Because nowadays the backyard poultry, the era is gone, and almost the poor people, they are having this kind of situation. Otherwise, nowadays the entire the situation was replaced by the commercial poultry farming. The technological advances have revolutionized the role and structure of poultry industry in India. It became one of the most specialized enterprise in many parts of the country. A general confidence has created among the people that green revolution has assured an era of self-reliance in the food grain production, because through poultry farming we have a huge opportunity to uplift uplift the poor nutritional status of the mass or population because of the high protein content in the egg and the meat. The rapidly growing population has created some doubts in the said hypothesis. In fact, crop production alone may not solve the food problem in the country. The advances in cereal technology, of course, can fill the empty stomach, but it may not help in the balanced growth of the human body. That I have already discussed, that the nutritional that status of the countryman, it is not up to that mark, because through the green revolution we have achieved our that the grain requirement of the countrymen. But only the filling of stomach is not sufficient. We have to fill the stomach in a proper balance, the diet which we have to provide, and that poultry and its product, they can have that potential. They can fill that gap which is there in the nutritional status of the countrymen. The chief ingredient of balanced diet is also comprise protein, fats, minerals, and vitamins, which are essential for growth. The supply of these items can easily be increased through increased production of livestock products. So now we'll once again go to the slides. So this is the actually the main purpose of discussing this role of poultry farming in India, because the poultry farming is not only the business opportunities over here in our country, because we are just contributors on around 2 to 3% of world poultry population in our country. So we have a huge potential to enhance the business in all dimensions, and also we can fulfill the nutritional requirement of our countrymen. So role of poultry is not only from the business aspect, but also from the food grain and nutritional aspects of the countrymen. Poultry development in India. The stage of poultry farming in different states, union territories, examined by constructing development indices on parameters such as layer parent stock, number of improved birds relative to the total poultry population, number of hatcheries, both private and public sector, and performance in example of egg produce per year. The technique was used to build indices for majority poultry producing state UTs in the country. The Poultry Development Index was constructed for major poultry producing states in Indian Union. The states were classified in ascending order. This implies the state which the lowest world population development index was first mentioned, so on. Assam and Northeast states were found in the first place in the order. In example, country farming is the least developed in these states, followed by Bihar, Odisha, and Himachal Pradesh, etc. Andhra Pradesh presented the most developed poultry population in India. In order to classify all states into two World Population Development Index groups, the 0.52 level was arbitrary, arbitrary chosen as a the cut of different state classify all the state in two groups on the basis of the low high poultry farming development. So the stages were classified on the basis of that what kind of the development is there, what kind of that population is there, what kind of productivity is there. All these are the parameters, and they have on the basis of that they have classified the state and union territory among two categories. Now the we'll see that how the growth in population, growth in production and productivity of egg and chicken meat, growth in egg production, growth in productivity. So these are the parameters on the basis of that we have classified the countrymen. Now growth in production and quality of egg and chicken meat. We'll see that per capita consumption in 1991 and 2012. From the table, we can understood that only the egg was 1991 only 7 eggs, and here we have a 38 eggs in 2012. So now we can see that how much that growth is there. And the broiler production also we can see that only 2 millions was there in the 1991 and 800 million in 2012. Now it is so far because now the country is in first position as far as the meat production is concerned. But in broiler production definitely we are far behind as per the expectation we are having. So this kind of the situation is there in the country in between 1991 to 2012. Now we'll see the growth in production. Poultry products have shown a massive growth in the country after 1961. Egg production in the year 2,881 million, which increases about 30,000 million in the 1996. And broiler production starting from zero increases 400 million in 1996. Similarly, the poultry meat was about 81,000 ton in the year 1996, and now it is 659 in the same period. The increased production increase in the availability of poultry products for consumption. So increase in the production definitely enhance the position of availability of the poultry products consumption. Growth in egg production in the major producing state, different regions of the country was examined during the period 80 to 1998. The period was further divided into 1890. Then it was seen that the Andhra Pradesh is leading in that particular thing. Now, then other than that, the Himachal and Punjab, Haryana, they are also doing very well. Growth in productivity. Productivity of indigenous or desi, that local improved breeds, different regions were examined for the period 87 to 88 and 94 to 95. The main productivity level of desi local birds was maximum up to 156 eggs in a year. In Himachal Pradesh, in northern region, the minimum was 62 eggs per year in Manipur. And it was also observed that this is the reason, that's why the maximum productivity of the improved breeds is 278 to 350 per year. So it was reported in Andhra Pradesh, in the southern and another 109 eggs in the Manipur state in the eastern region. So this is the parameter that on the basis of that we'll have a discussion on the role of the poultry farming in India. Now, growth in egg production, northern region, western region, southern region, eastern region. Under these four regions, we will find that the growth of all the regions, all the other products are poultry products are very important, and they are there. There was a significant north region. There was a significant growth in the egg production in all egg producing state of the region. Punjab presented a maximum growth rate of 3.12% during the year and first year, and then the 3.03% in the intermediate period, followed by Himachal Pradesh 3 to 2.9 and 2.98 to Haryana, and like that. It means 3-4% growth is there. The period 2002 to 2003. Only we'll see that 2-3% growth was there. Western region, the major egg producing state in the region, significant growth in the first year. Rajasthan was second period, but the growth is Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, and all. These are only in between 2 to 3% yearly, respectively. Southern region, in this region, the maximum and high significant growth was there because here the growth was above 3%. So this is the state where we have a huge growth in the poultry. Then the eastern region, in the eastern region, Sikkim and all these northeastern seven sisters are here. The growth was in between the 2 to 3%, and on an average below 3%. So this is the situation of the poultry farming in our country. And because of this, we'll see that the entire things were very disturbing, and in that case, we cannot do this thing. So anyway, this is all about the poultry production in the country. So good morning, students. Today we have a plan to discuss about the difference in between the layers and the broilers. From commercial point of view, it's very important that we have to understood that what is the difference between the layers and the broilers. And the learning objective of this particular topic is to know about the difference in between the broilers and layers in the poultry, and importance of of understanding the difference in between these two species. Because from commercial point of view, layers generally the birds to whom we are domesticating for egg production, and the broilers to whom we are domesticating for meat production. So there is a basic difference, and the difference is very important. If we not understood the meaning and we know how about the broilers and the layers, then the entire domestication process uh, will be affected because of not knowing about the difference. So what are the basic difference in between these two? How we can say that layers are chickens raised for gives eggs? Yes, that is there, and the broilers are reared for meat. This is the basic difference. Then the layers are females generally, because we know that the eggs can be laid by the female. But in the case of the broilers, both sexes are there, and we don't differentiate in between the male and female, because our purpose is meat, and the criteria is only that the fastest growing bird we are keeping as a broilers. So there are few birds like Japanese quail, Corchunix. These are the few breeds. They are very important, and they are generally being grown everywhere in the world as a broilers, because they have the tendency to obtain the maximum weight gain within 6 to 7 weeks of time. And the lifespan that we have decided for them is 6 to 7 weeks, because we feel that scientifically we know that the maximum body weight gain uh, achieved by the birds within that time. So that's why their feed is entirely different. In initially 1 to 3 weeks, we will give them the broiler starter. Then 3 to 6 or 7 weeks, we'll give them the broiler finisher feed. So the entire difference is according to the feed given to them. Because in the case of the broilers, we have only single point agenda, that anyhow we can have the maximum weight gain within the stipulated time. Whereas in the case of the layers, we have a different kind of feed that we want, because we don't want that unnecessary weight gain by the birds. That's why the feed ingredient those we are using in case of the layers feed, which is very much different, which is very much different as far as the broiler feed is concerned. Because here in the layers we have this thing that the balanced feed should be given, and the unnecessary weight gain to be avoided. Because in the case of the pullets, when when these chicks they become adult, just before they start giving eggs, on the time that the body is to be in between 2.5 to 2.8 kg, not more than that, even 2.2 to 2.5 kg body weight, because the pullets, if they gain weight undesirable, then they are being treated as a poor layer. So the commercially, if we will allow the same feed which we have allowed to the to broilers, it will affect the productivity of the business. So that's why the layers and broilers, we have to understood first that what are the difference in between these two category of birds. Layers are slower in growth. Yes, of course, because we fed them accordingly, and they are generally being observed that they are little bit poor in as far as the growth is concerned. But in the case of the broilers, we know that the birds have tendency to grow fast, and that is our objective also. That we know that within 6 to 7 weeks they are supposed to get weight, receive the weight gain maximum as far as we are concerned, because from business point of view this is very much required. Then the layers, they have more lifespan, produces egg for 72 weeks of their age after attaining maturity. Broilers may or female or male, there is no difference, because our purpose is only to 6 to 7 weeks we are keeping them, and we are then we have sold them out into the market for meat purpose or chicken purpose. So these are the basic differences in between the layers. And in layers we have a few important breeds like white leghorn or Plymouth Rock or a seal or so and so on. But in case of the broilers, we have two options, that either we will go for the Japanese quail or the Fortunic cartoonix. These are the two important breeds. They are generally being raised by the farmers. Now we will discuss regarding the good layer and bad layer. Now we are focusing on the layers, because now to whom we are calling the good layer, or to whom we are calling we are categorizing under the category of the bad layer. Good layer, the sign of that we can which we can openly we can observe from the naked eye, that the good layer had small head, learned and well proportionate body. It means lean and well proportionate body. This is a good sign, that on the basis of that we can through observation we can have that this bird is good layer. The beak strong, shining and well carved. This is also one of the most important prominent sign of the good layer. Then comb and petal warm, brightly red and full. It means the comb and petals both are warm and brightly. It means that there is a brightness on the petals also. Eyes bright, well opened and alert. So the body, if you find that the bird is alert, then we can categorize under the good laying bird. Neck short and strong. Body of good layer is long, deep, and proportionate and capacious also. So this is also a good sign to whom we can keep under the good layer. Back broad and back, generally the back portion is broad and straight. Skin skin we will see, we'll touch the skin, that is thin and smooth and oily also. If it is rough, then we will not treat that bird into the good layer. Abdomen large and soft, which is a sign that if the broadness is there and largeness is there, then we can treat it as a good layer. Feathers don't laid. Feathers, they are well arranged and unnecessary molting is not there. Shank thin and soft on back. Good appetite and friendly temperament. The temperament of bird is also friendly. They are not that aggressive or like that. Bad layer, now we will have on the basis, what are the parameters of the basis of that we will decide that these birds to whom we can cap under the category of the bad layers. They are having generally the head large and thick. This is the first sign which we observe through our naked eye. Then the beak is long, thin, and dull. Color is not that the sharp and brightness is not there. Comb cold, shrunken, and dull colored. This is also the sign. Eyes dull and sleepy. Neck long and thin. Then body short, weak, thin, and limited. Then the back long and curved. Back is also this, just like that back is broad and straight in the good bird. Here the back long and curved. Back skin coarse and thick. Skin is also not oily or like that. coarse and thick and dullness is there. Abdomen is small and hard. If abdomen we are in the good layer, we have seen that abdomen is large and soft. Here the abdomen is small and hard. Then the ventral oval soft and moist in the case of the good layer, where here the ventral oval is small, dry and narrow. This is also the through the vent observation we can have that idea that what kind of bird is there. Feathers molt early. Falling of feathers is very early at early stage. Shank hardened on back and poor appetite. These are the shy and nervous temperament. They are having they are showing their exhibition as shy and nervous temperament. So these are few important things about the good layer and the bad layer. So once again, we will have a discussion that will conclude that what we have learned about the layers and broilers, and then we have little bit focused on the good layer and the bad layers. So now we'll discuss about the laying birds, about the laying birds. So laying birds.
अंतरिक्ष बेटा एक बार आपने कहाँ सेंड करिए साइंस का पीडीएफ बेटा दिखा नहीं
So good morning, friends. Today we will have a discussion on the course non-ruminant production and management, under which we will discuss about the poultry management. The topic of the day is incubation and hatching, out of which the objective which we have laid for this topic is that we'll understood the meaning of the incubation and hatching. What is the difference between incubation and hatching? Then we'll have a discussion on the types of incubators, on what basis we'll have a classification of the incubators, and then we'll have all the discussion about this particular process of incubation. So let us start with incubation and hatching. Incubation is the act forced draft incubators. We convert egg into the chick via artificially without using hand. When we complete the entire process of then to whom we are completion. And when we are using hand for completion of this particular process, when the egg being converted into the chick, that to whom we are calling the hatch or hatching. That process is known as hatching. So based on the heating, the type of that incubators, those we are having in the market, the based on the heating source and based on the fuel used. So these are the two category under which we have divided the incubators. So based on the heating source, hot air incubators and hot water incubators, these are the two categories. Then it means the hot air we are using in the first one, and the second one we are using hot water. So this both of these are they are based on the heating source. Then we have based on the fuel, what kind of that fuel which we are using. Sometimes the gas operated, sometimes the oil operated, and nowadays we have electric operated. So these are the type of the incubator those who are available in the market. Then where we have to locate the incubator. The chick hatcheries are modern buildings that provide separate rooms for each hatchery operations, but each room has its individual requirements. The hatchery area should be a separate unit with its own entrance and exit. because we know that it's a highly sensitive area where we have opportunity to spread the problems like bird flu, like other problems like the Marek disease, or these are the diseases they are transmitted by people. So we have to arrange that there is there is no connectivity in between the entrance and exit. The hatchery should be situated at least 1,000 feet from the poultry houses to prevent horizontal transmission of disease producing organism from chicken houses to the hatchery. So that we have to understood, because parent stocks are also there, but we have to keep the distance about 1,000 that meter which is required, so that the disease transmission not become possible. Size of hatchery. The size of hatchery is based on the egg capacity of the setters and hatchers. How much the parental number of parents we are having, parental stock we are having, how much the egg production is there, because we can't keep more than the 10 days the stock in our hand. So in that case, we have to keep in our mind that how much that capacity which we are having, and that at each week generally we place the eggs on the weekly basis at each week. Also necessary space for allotment for future expansion. All these things we have to kept while we in our mind when we are deciding about the hatchery. Then the hatchery design should be as per the need and the requirement, constructed in such a manner that the hatching egg may be taken in one and to check removal other. One hand will check and other hand will have the egg. In other words, the egg and chick should not should flow through the hatchery from one room to one next needed to the hatching process. There should be no backtracking. It means while the process which we are adopting, it's a continuous running process. So there is no backtracking. Such a flow affords better isolation of the rooms, and there is less human traffic throughout the building. Hatchery construction building should be interactively designed, properly constructed, and adequately ventilated. These general points to be considered are here: width of the hatchery, height of the ceiling, walls, ceiling material, doors, floor, hatchery room structure, etc. These all are the important things those we have to keep in our mind while we are constructing the hatchery. Hatchery room must be adequate in size. Usually, hatcheries of medium size will hatch chicks twice a week, but large hatcheries will hatch more than two hatch per week. Consequently, hatching schedule will affect the size of room in the hatchery. Then the shower room. To maintain biosecurity, it is essential that all persons entering in the premises shower and change into the clean clothing in an adjoining room. It is the only entrance and the exit, and the hatchery becomes an isolated unit as far as the human beings are concerned. Hatchery hatching eggs receiving counter. Employees delivering hatching eggs to the hatchery must not enter the hatchery in course of their duties. Eggs should be delivered to the hatchery through a specialized door. It means that we have to build a hatchery counter there, so we can receive the egg over there, and the unnecessary the entrance of human beings we can avoid. Fumigation room. The fumigation room should be small as possible in order to reduce the amount of fumigant used. A fan should be used to circulate the air for equal distribution of air inside the fumigation room. That we have to build the room in a way like that we can have the equal distribution of air inside the room, and we have to place the fan also in the middle of the room, so equal distribution of air being took place. Egg holding egg cooler room. Egg holding room should be about 8 feet high, insulated, showing ventilated with complete air movement, cooled and humidified. The room must be refrigerated to maintain an optimum temperature. A forced air type of refrigeration unit is required in order to keep a uniform temperature throughout the room. So that all things we have to kept in our mind that temperature should be maintained as per the need and the requirement of the situation. Re-incubation warming room. Here the eggs are kept for the purpose of drying the sweat over eggs. It can be achieved by providing sufficient number of ceiling fan in this room. so that we can arrange all these things in a sequence, so we can there is no backtracking. The once we enter, the ultimately the chick will come in from the next that outlet. Setter room is very important. Setter incubators are kept in this room. The size of setter room will depend upon the equipment used. The incubating equipment take relatively little floor space. The exact room size involves the aisle and working area necessary to move the eggs and chicks and out of the machines. The minimum space of 3 feet should be allotted between the sides of the adjacent setters and from the wall of side to back to the setters. Similarly, minimum 10 feet should be allotted in front of two setters when kept the face-to-face arrangement. So this kind of thing we have to maintain at least, because we can avoid the spread of disease through this thing. And candling room. This is very important because here the candling of egg is required. Here we because it should be the dark room. When we pass the egg through the light, then we can see the transparent situation of egg through that. If there is a darkness inside the egg, it means the egg is fertilizing, and the egg is fertilized egg. So we can do the candling. This process is very important. This room is usually constructed in between the setter and the hatcher room for candling eggs. Candling is usually practiced when eggs are transferred from setter to hatcher. Provision should be made to dark the room to facilitate the easy candling, because candling is processed while we judge the development and growth of the embryo inside the egg through the light. So in the dark room, it can be easily achieved. We will see each egg, and then we'll transfer that egg into the incubator or into the hatcher. Now hatcher room. Eggs are kept in this room. Here the sufficient space are to be allowed around hatcher similar to that of setter room. Since it means we have to think that what kind of the capacity we are having. On the basis of that, we have to allot the space and the floor requirement of the particular activity. That chick holding room is also there, washroom is also there, clean room is also there. For that, for the different purpose, we are using all these facilities in hatchery. Now let us have to understand that what are the principles of incubation. On what basis actually, what are the things those we have to keep in our mind, and to whom we are calling the principles of incubation. Five major functions are involved in incubation and hatching of poultry egg. They are temperature, humidity, ventilation, position of egg, and training of egg. So these all five things we have to maintain in a proper manner, and as per the time and the need of the situation. So temperature is the most critical environment concerned during the incubation, because the development of embryo can withstand small fluctuations during the period. Embryo starts developing when the temperature exceeds the physiological zero. Physiological zero temperature is 67.5 degree Fahrenheit. So if little bit increase is there, it means the 10 degree Fahrenheit is there, then it is more than sufficient to start development of embryo inside the egg. Temperature below the embryonic growth is arrested, then and above which is reinitiated. The physiological zero of for chicken temperature is about 75 degree or 65 degree Fahrenheit or 24 degrees centigrade. The optimum temperature for chicken egg in setter for first 18 days ranges from 99.5 to 99.75 degree Fahrenheit, and the hatcher last 3 days 98.5 degree Fahrenheit. So first we have discussed about the temperature that we have to maintain inside the setter or inside the incubator. Then the humidity, which is very important, that 50 to 60%. This is the range of the humidity which is required for the general growth and development of the embryo inside the inside the incubator. Then third one is ventilation. Ventilation is important in incubator and hatchers, because fresh oxygenated air is needed for the respiration, oxygen intake, and carbon dioxide given off for developing embryos from egg setting until chip removal from the incubator. The oxygen needs are small during the first few days compared to the later stages of development. While you know that when the chick is come out from the egg, on that time we require more oxygen, because the respiration of chick is started. So this is the thing which we have to think about. In the oxygen content of air sea level is about 21%, which is nearly required for the development and growth of the poultry birds. 1% drop in oxygen, there is a 15% reduction in the hatchability. This is the thing which is already scientifically that assessed and analyzed, that if 1% drop in the oxygen level in the incubator, it arrests it decline in the growth of the in the hatchability about 5%. So if more than that, then we have the continuous losses as far as the hatchability is concerned. And if the 5%, 0.5% level above of carbon dioxide, it reduces the 5% of the hatchability. So it vice versa. If 1% of the oxygen decline, it affects the 5% of hatchability, and if 0.5% of carbon is increases, then it affects the 1% affect the 5% of the hatchability. So it's vice versa. If we are not able to maintain this thing, then we will be in trouble. Then now the fourth position of artificial incubation large end up. It is natural for head of the chick to develop in the large end of the egg near the air cell, and for developing embryo or to orient itself to that head is uppermost. When the eggs are incubated with the small end up, about 60% of embryos will develop with the head near the small end. Thus, when the chick is ready to hatch, its beak cannot be break into the ear cells to initiate pulmonary respiration. Eggs positioned horizontally will incubate and hatch normally as long as the turn frequently. Under the normal circumstances, eggs are set with the large end up and the first 18 days in the setter, and in horizontal in the first last 3 days. It means 18 days we have to keep them in the in the normal circumstances, but when horizontal position is required in next 3 days, because while on the time when the egg actually the chick come out from the egg. So proper respiration, this position is required. Turning of egg. The birds include chicken and quail turn their eggs during the nest incubation, because they know that continuous turning is required for the exercise of the embryo inside the egg. So that thing is also required in the. So nowadays we have in automatic tilting incubators. So as per the need, they within 8 to 12 hours they tilt the position of the eggs automatically, and that's why the concept of exercise of embryo inside the egg is being done by the incubators itself. In large commercial incubator, the eggs are turned automatically each hours 24 times a day. It means at hourly they are turning. It means 24 times in a day. Most eggs are turned to a position of 45 degree, which is vertical, and then received in the opposite direction 45 degree from vertical. Rotations then 45 degree are not adequate to achieve the high hatchability. So now here in the screen you will see that temperature is in chatter 99.5 to 99.75 degree Fahrenheit, relative humidity 55 to 60%, position large end up, and turning manual 8 times. It means automatically in 24 times. In hatcher, the temperature is 98.5 degrees centigrade, and then we have 5 degree Fahrenheit, and the humidity little bit more, 65 to 70%. And the position now we have to horizontally we have to keep, because 3 days here the egg will remain, and now there is no turning required, because the last 3 days we are just expecting that egg the chick will come out from the egg. Now the handling of hatching eggs and the storage. This is also very important, that the quality of hatching egg cannot be improved after lay, but one can reduce the loss in the hatching quality by adopting some standard procedures for like that, maintaining egg quality in the breeder house. Then the hatching egg should be collected at least 4 times a day. Selection of hatching eggs. These are the certain parameters on the basis of that we can have that reducing contamination of hatching eggs. This is also a very important thing. is required. And finally, the storage of hatching eggs. In normal hatchery operations, set immediately after they are laid. Many hatcheries set eggs once a week or twice in a week. If hatching eggs are stored up to 1 week, hatching eggs should be will maintain at the 65-degree Fahrenheit, because it's below physiological that temperature which we have discussed, the 75-degree Fahrenheit, and relative humidity at 75%. When egg is stored less than 10 days, store them in a position of large end up. If the eggs are held for 10 days or more, hatchability will be improved if stored with small end cap. So these are the few things those we have to keep in our mind while we are operating the hatchery. So I think that we have completed almost the important aspect of the hatchery and the hatchery operations. And that if you have any doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, you prepare this all the things, and we'll see practically in the we'll go to the hatchery, and then we'll see that what kind of thing is there, and we'll learn that how the hatchery is being operated.